Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone on YouTube. Um, Today, we are looking at current events. Ah, hey, Yolanda. We're looking at current events.
Hi.
Yeah, and the law and you. So, just so you know, Yolanda, we are streaming also on YouTube. So, it'll be recorded if you speak, it'll be on YouTube. So,
Okay.
that's where we are. So, um, I'm just going to wait for some more people to get here because I didn't know what to per se title it because I don't want to be salacious because I'm not about um oh, every time I try to pin that link, Yolanda, it doesn't work for Telegram.
Oh, are you changing it to a Bitly type of link first? You have to put it through Bitly, Bitly.
Okay, tell you what, how about hey Cyber.
Okay, I got you.
Thanks, Yolanda. So Cyber, this is current events, you and the law of creation. So I wanted to look at the current state of feminism because that's a big thing going on in the world, feminism. And the interesting thing is, if we look at the law, it doesn't matter what you see going on around you, it is all governed by law. So it's just that we have to be able to pay attention to see how something is being used, whether for you or against you. So that is the whole purpose of this live. So if you have a question, Cyber, drop it in the chat regarding whatever current event you want to discover or expand upon. And we are streaming also on Fanbase, just so you're aware. So those are the other voices you will hear then, or if people come into this space here on Fanbase. Let me see if I can ping some people into the room because it wouldn't let me do it before. It wouldn't let me. There's one. And then let's see. We'll keep going. So let's look at feminism, shall we? What's happening with feminism right now? Feminism has, I don't know, it's become this thing, this beast, I would say. But if you look at it, think about it. Women have always had ideas, right? We're creative. Women have always been creative, correct? We've been creative, we've been curious, we like to learn. This is what women do, right? It's the same as what men do. And more along the lines to your comment there, Cyber, that you've heard people say feminism is a depopulation program. You see, now that's what I mean when I say, how is it being used? Because if you think about it, is it in the best interest of any society to silence half of the population? Because you're only getting one perspective now. Instead of two perspectives, you're just getting one. And if you just have one perspective, you're going to be missing the other side of things, right? So when you look at feminism, right, people say, well, women are making less money than men. Okay. But are we overlooking the fact that women now have to work? And if you have the man working and the woman working, what do you have? Double taxes. You have to look at the bigger picture. Thank you, Yolanda. Yay. Does that kind of sort of make sense? You're looking at the big picture because feminism right now, if you look at it, it's just bits and pieces. You want equanimity with men. You want to be able to do the same job as men. But in actuality, women, we're not built like men. No, we're not. They're not built like we are. We have different roles that nature has assigned to us, right? So because we have different roles, we now have to live according to the role because it's what your body will behave like. So if you say things like, oh, but depopulation, depopulation just fits into the pocket. It just fits into the pocket of the overall goal, the overall agenda is what it does. So it doesn't matter which end you look at it. If you remember, as a woman, you have the ability to think, you have the ability to speak, you can be creative, you do those things. You have a goal, you have desires, pursue them, right? It's back in the day, women used to write books under a man's name so that it would be published, right? Because allegedly women don't have anything to say, right? But the bigger picture is, where's the law in feminism? It is polarizing, for one, because it will split that room down the middle, right? When you think of feminism, you're either for or you're against. But truthfully, feminism can't go anywhere. Masculine and feminine are the law of gender. So what has happened to humanity is we just see masculine and feminine as male and female, when in actuality, male is male, female is female. They are the expression, but they are not the law. The law is masculine. Masculine, you project outward. Feminine, accept and give an experience back. That's the true definition. Masculine, feminine, by way of law. So when you find now that the topic of feminism splits the room down the middle, you are for or you are against, right? And there are many people who will debate on it. But if you look at it, it separates people. It separates people. What is the purpose of separating things? Well, people. That's what I'm wanting you to look at when you look at feminism. You don't just get up and argue feminism. You're going to be a woman today, you're going to be a woman tomorrow. That's never going to change. Nobody can take it from you and say you're not a woman. So to fight against is to add more power to the opposing side, because now all attention is focused, polarized on the other side, right? So when you're looking at the law, you look at it and you notice, okay, this thing has separated the room. It's divided things. Why? Why would someone seek to divide the room? Because when you divide the room, you begin to learn about each side. And when you learn about each side, now you can throw a cause into the mix to bring about the desired effect, which means when you separate the room, the people who are on the left have a certain attitude and they're moved by different things. The people on the right, they are moved by different things. So you're going to have to, whatever the effect is that you want a riot, well then, you know that whether it's the left or the right, you know how they're going to respond to certain stimulus, right? This is the purpose here. When you look at what the law is unfolding before you and you see it, you're like, oh, it's not just straight down the middle, black and white. There's a purpose. If you're looking at a cause, you know you have to bring about an effect. So feminism is simply a tool that has been used. The part that everybody misses is that women still have to work. Whether you're paid 80 cents to the dollar of a man, you are still being taxed on that 80 cents. So you are still having to work. So now you've got a household with 2 taxes in it. So it's not that men make more than women, it's that both male and female are being taxed. Always the bigger picture. The example is, remember the cigarette company? And they brought out this commercial way back in the day encouraging women to smoke. They encouraged women to smoke. But allegedly, women didn't have a say. But here, we're going to get you. You want to be just like a man? Okay, here, smoke like a man. What's the problem with smoking? It is highly addictive. It's a habit. It's the thing you do the same way every time. Same way every time. So now what happens? Now you have the man in the house addicted and you have the woman in the house addicted. You're spending twice the amount of money. Don't for one moment think that feminism is this thing that is fighting for the rights of women. You don't have to fight for what is already yours. You're the woman. How do you fight for that? How do you defend that? You are the woman. And if you look at it, because now the narrative in the world is, I've seen it in some places where people will post that women have to be afraid of men. Women can't trust men. See that? Look at what's happening there. Again, a projection. What is that projection doing? The projection is casting fear into women. And what is it casting into men? Anger. Why? Think about it. You're a man. You get up every day and all you hear is, women are afraid of you. Oh, you're violent. Oh, you're a criminal. And you're not, right? You're not. But that's what you keep hearing because that is the thing being projected. And so the more that is projected, it builds fear in the woman, but it also builds anger in the man. So now, when man and woman meet, what happens? She's afraid. He's angry. A confrontation ensues. So to Cyber's point, depopulation, well, it just happens to work. Because if men and women are at odds, nobody is procreating. See? So Yolanda, my melanin, do you have any questions about that? Like, because it's current events. You share your questions and we'll answer it by way of law. Well, I take it there aren't any questions. This is good, isn't it? So the principle here, when you look at a current event, what is it doing? If you pay attention, you will see that a current event polarizes. And because it polarizes, the sides that have been polarized are predictable. How do you know that they're predictable? Because it's not just today that somebody decided to polarize the room. Nah, it's tried, tested, and true. You know it polarizes the room. And so because it polarizes the room, each side's behavior is predictable. And because each side's behavior is predictable, right? Now you know how to influence the behavior of each side. And when you influence the behavior of each side, you already know what you want them to do because you created the cause to bring about your desired effect. Cyber says, young men seem to be medically transitioning into women at the same rate women are stepping into the role of masculinity. So it seems big pharma is involved as well. But yes, listen, there's such a thing as being opportunistic. Think about this. There is such a thing as being opportunistic. Once you have divided the room and you know who's on the left, you know who's on the right. As I said, if you want to bring about a particular effect, big pharma, right? You want to bring about the effect. You want to have people on your pills and whatever else for the rest of their lives. Then maximize, capitalize on that side of the room that you've divided. That's what you're doing. That's what's being done. Cyber also says, but I do think it's cool that the feminine and masculine rebalances when it's thrown off. Well, yes, it always. Because creation requires, the way it rebalances is that creation creation requires a projection and something to accept it to give it back. So even if it seems off balance, if you're getting too much projection, you have to have the awaiting receptacle to accept it. And this is how balance is maintained, because it always works by way of project, accept, project, accept, project, accept every single time. And that's how it rebalances itself, because actually it's not out of balance, because that is the process of creation, to project it outward and have the experience come back. Does that make sense? I want to change the title of that thingy in the hallway, but I do, but I don't, because I don't want to debate, because I'm not a debater. I'm not debating current events. I'm simply showing the law in the current event and how it is being used. Talk to me, Yolanda.
Oh, I was going to say, if you type the 3 dots, you can change the name, the title of the room.
Change room title. Oh, boy. I'm scared, but let's do it anyway. Feminism.
You gonna have them sweating in here.
Law and you, huh?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay. Whew. Okay, it's changed there now. But here's the thing. When you encounter a current event, right? The first step is usually to look at it. What is the narrative being projected? What is being projected? That's the first step. What is being projected? Is it projected worldwide? Is it projected locally? How is it being projected? Who is the target of the projection? Because if you look at that part first, you will be able to see polarity at work, which means you will not allow yourself to have your emotions caught up in something to polarize you. So here's the counter now. Okay, this is how you protect yourself when you see something happening. A current event is happening. You stop what you're doing and you look at it. Who's the target? So which side of polarity is being influenced, the left or the right? They're both the same, mind you. The left and the right side are exactly the same. You are pro, you are anti, because you will defend it with the same passion. That's the key. They're the same in their nature. So where have you allowed yourself to be polarized from this current event? What emotion was summoned forth from you, right? What emotion was summoned from you? This is the thing. This is exactly what happens. So now when you see, oh, so that's the narrative being pushed. When you see the narrative being pushed, then you know how someone wants you to behave. When you see the narrative being pushed, you are now privy to how someone wants you to behave. What are the benefits to them from your behavior? Somebody's going to capitalize off of your behavior. This is why we have algorithms. Do you understand? We have algorithms because somebody always profits from how you are polarized, from your rhythm, your habit. Is this beginning to make a little bit more sense? Because what happens is now you take away this phrase. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. You take away that phrase. Hey, Cara. You take away the phrase conspiracy theorist. Why? When you hear the phrase conspiracy theorist, you understand. Now you have created polarity again. You've divided the room again. Because some people say, oh, conspiracies aren't real. And the others say, oh my God, but they are. And so now you know exactly how the left side will behave, pro, or the right side, anti. You know exactly how each side is going to behave when you polarize them. So now when you say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, where is your evidence? The evidence is always going to be right in front of you. Where's the evidence? The evidence lies in what is the narrative? What is the narrative that is being projected? In this case, it'll be feminism. So now what's happening is we've got one side thinking, we must be heard. Let's shout a little louder. And you have the other side saying, y'all make too much noise. So here's the law of rhythm. The louder you are, the harder you are silenced. It is the law of rhythm. It is the pendulum. Rhythm compensates. So however hard you fight is how much resistance you meet on the other side. This is what it is. So here we are as women fighting to be heard, to be seen, to be respected, to be paid equally. Listen, so long as you've been hired, do the job to the best of your ability. Why? Because it is law. When you give your best, you can only get the best back. You give your best, you only get the best back. You don't have to fight to show yourself as valid. If you have to prove yourself as valid, it means you deem yourself to be invalid. And here's the law again. As within, so without. If you see yourself as invalid, now you have to strive and work even harder and force your way. When in actuality, when rhythm compensates, however hard you push to prove your value, that is the resistance you will meet. So you don't fight, you counter. You counter rhythm by neutralizing it, which means when you're being told in society, well, you know, women really don't have a brain. They're just good for whatever they're good for. Is that what you're good for? Or do you not know yourself? So if you know yourself, you behave according to what you know about yourself. You know that you're trustworthy. You know that you're reliable. You know that you're creative. Live that way. You know why? Because it can't be denied when you live that way. Why? You don't have to argue. You don't have to fight. Live the way you know you are. Right? That's how you counter what is coming at you. You must first recognize what's coming at you. How is it polarizing you? How does it want to polarize you? Because it's going to make you choose a side. Now, pay attention. When you look out into the world, David Icke has a phrase he uses called the totalitarian tiptoe. Why? You see, the law of rhythm, remember, she compensates. However hard you push to the left is the resistance you will meet on the other side. So in order to gain compliance or acquiescence, you divide the room with polarity, and the traits from the other side, left, right, the traits that they display, you know how far you can push them. You know how far and how hard you can push them. So you push them a little bit. Just a little. Because you know, if you push them a little bit, they'll respond in kind. So what are you going to push them with? The most popular thing to push anybody with is fear. Even though it might present itself as anger, it is coming from a place of fear. How dare you? you know, that kind of thing. So to counter it, don't allow yourself to be polarized. Observe, you must rise above polarity. To rise above polarity means you have to look from your standpoint, look through the lens of who are you? Are you going to allow yourself to be polarized? Are you? Well, if you can see it, then you will avoid it. Hey, Oracle, if you see the tool being used to polarize you, you can avoid it because you see it. You're like, miss me with that, right? Cyber, what are your thoughts on transhumanism, Neuralink, and such? Whew. Well, first of all, I don't know what transhumanism is, but when you mention Neuralink, I think there is now a human test study going on with someone who was brain damaged, and the messages cannot get through for them to move their body. So now they've attached this Neuralink transmitter to their brain, and they give the brain the message, and the message is transferred through the Neuralink so the body can move. Now, scientifically, that is a great thing. Of course it is. Because for the person who has been injured and cannot move, they now have the ability to do so. So it's a good thing in that aspect. But now, remember always, somebody's going to capitalize. We live in the system of capitalism. And in order to survive in capitalism, you have to capitalize on an opportunity. That's not a conspiracy theory. It is just there. Right? It is just there. So then you say, how do I counter? How do I protect myself? To protect yourself, step one, recognize what is happening in the current event. Recognize it. It is being projected because it wants to polarize. But why? Well, that depends on which side of polarity you are on, pro or anti. Right? That depends. Where you allow yourself to be polarized will always predict how you can be used. So, for instance, we say, you push my buttons because you behave the same way every time. You are predictable. Every single human is predictable. It is the law of rhythm. So when you allow yourself to be polarized, now someone can look at you and say, oh, so you're on that side. Well, I know how to deal with you. I know how to either rile you up or I know how to subdue you. Right? If I say Derek Jackson, if I say Kevin Samuels, you now know which side of the fence you're on. You know where you're polarized. Now, because you have chosen a side, which we all must do at some point, you are now predictable. And if you are predictable, you're easily manipulated. That is law. Because every cause has its effect, and every effect its cause. So if you know that you are easily riled up, why would you put yourself in situations that are going to rile you up and then, we act a fool, right? It's simple as that. So that's why when you hear the word conspiracy theory and people ask you, well, where's your evidence? The evidence is the law. What is the thing that was projected outward? Its purpose was to polarize. And because its purpose is to polarize, which side do you fall on? So if you see those two steps, what's being projected out, where is it asking you to choose a side? Because when you choose a side, now you're going to help bring about the effect that controls you. So for instance, if you break the law and, George Floyd, and you get murdered by the police, where have you been polarized? Where have you been polarized? So now, because of that behavior, you can see where you've been polarized. And then they know how to treat you based upon your polarity. Cyber says, by the power of imagination, all men, certainly imaginative men, are forever casting forth enchantments, and all men, especially unimaginative men, are continually passing under their power. Neville Goddard. Why, yes, indeed. The imaginative person creates the cause to bring about the effect in others. The imaginative one, but the one who is just blindly going through life on autopilot does not see the projected cause, and thereby they act blindly to bring about the effect. That's what Neville Goddard just said. Does that make sense? Are there any questions regarding the law and how to use it to counter things and such? Go ahead, I am open. You guys? Huh?
Yeah, hi, it's Kara.
Hey, Kara.
That was powerful. A lot to consider there. I guess my question is, I understand what you're describing about, if I step into a polarity, then, and I choose a side, then it's known what can be used against me or where my triggers are, if you will. Mm-hmm. So, what's the option, to not express you? Because that's what the skeptic in me is saying, or the other side in me is saying, is trying to sort of understand this. So what's the option to not speak out? Like, how do you not polarize and still stand up for what you believe, or mm-hmm. or express your thoughts or have a discussion? Does that make sense?
It does. A beautiful question. Because as I say, sooner or later, we're going to have to take a side. You cannot allow treachery to continue. So how you deal with that is, you now have to look at the desired effect you want to have. This is where it comes down to. What effect do you want to bring about? It is not enough to take up the torch and just stomp through the streets, right? You have to be strategic. What do you want to bring about? Because when you decide what kind of change it is by way of standing up for yourself, what does standing up for yourself look like? That's what you have to name, because that will become the cause. And when that becomes the cause, now you know, because you decided on the effect in the first place. You said, well, I'm going to stand up for what is right. What does that look like? What is the right thing? What is the desired outcome? If you say, I want our voices to be heard, I want us to be understood, I want it to be peaceful, well then, now that you've defined that, an opportunity presents itself for you to take advantage of all of the things you said. Because if you'll notice, if you go to a protest, pro and anti are both the same thing. Both people are arguing their points. Nobody's listening, nobody can hear, and thus rage ensues, and violence will come out of that. So if, as a strategy, you say, okay, what is the desired outcome? Why am I going to stand up for what is right? What is right? If you do that part, because it is all going to be fueled by your intention. If your intention is to bring about harmony between two people or any situation, you're not going to come from a place of force, because that's not your intent. Your intent is harmony. So because the intent is a harmonious resolution, now all of the ideas that come forth from you and your group will bring about harmony. Even in the face of force coming from the other end, they won't have a reason to be forceful, because you will diffuse them. Does that answer the question, Kara?
Yes.
Ask it again, and we'll go a little deeper.
I guess I'm still looking at the alternative, because I'm hearing in what you're offering what feels exactly right in terms of, okay, what I want here is a harmonized dialogue. So I don't want to come in with something that's going to create that polarity, that opposite effect, that's going to ramp things up into a place where we're not hearing each other. So I hear you on that part.
Mm-hmm.
But when two sides are seemingly foundationally opposed, I guess I'm not quite seeing how to get past that opposition to a place of harmony when two sides are so deeply opposed.
I understand, because I hear that. I hear that part. This is why when we become clear with our intention, okay? If you know you're seeking harmony and the other side chose violence today, how are you going to diffuse them? You don't diffuse your opponent. You seek the peace within yourself first, which is why you will have discernment to say, you know what? Perhaps now is not the best time to have this conversation, because they're not ready. You can shout all you want, but if they're not in a position to hear you, you're hitting your head against the wall. So this is why when you solidify your intention, that is what will help you to remain neutral. Because you'll see, well, you know what? You just can't talk to them right now. I'll retreat. Retreat doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean cowardice. Retreat is ebb and flow. There's a time and a place. So once the intention is clear, you will recognize one of two or three things. The other side is ready, or they're not. If they are ready, you will proceed and you will bring about that outcome. But if they're not ready and you proceed, well, we know how that ends, in an argument. So if the intent is harmony, you will, whatever action you take has to be harmonious. I know it's not the desirable answer at the moment. I know it's not, but in practice, you will begin to see it. It's like when you go somewhere and someone is just hell bent on arguing, what are you going to do? They are hell bent to argue, but you want to defend. Can you defend? Should you defend? This is why when we use law, you look at it, you neutralize the situation by not participating in it. So that when you don't participate in that situation, it is diffused. Who are they going to fight against? You? No, they can't, because you have not engaged. So that's why I say always the intention is what will drive you to act, so that you know when to engage, when to neutralize. Again, it is not the ideal answer, but if you watch what is happening around the world right now, watch it and you'll see it at play. You'll see it. Wherever your government chooses to do something, right? You'll see it. They'll push you so far. And here's the thing. Back in the day, Margaret Thatcher had a toll tax. And do you know what the people did? They just refused to pay it. They did not engage with arguments. Yes, they went out into the streets with their signs, but they did not pay it. And so much so because they did not pay it and they refused to participate, even the people who had to take time off work, they were recompensed for showing up and saying, no, this is not what we want. They didn't throw stones, they didn't burn anything down, they just said no. And they said no as a collective. So you see, force is not always required, but the intention is key. Does that make a bit more sense?
Yes. No, it all makes sense. I'm just trying to stay with it to clarify. And on a personal level, I'm totally in line with what you're saying when I apply it to personal relationships where there's a natural space to be able to step back and come back to it at another time. So when you refer to, let's say, what a government is doing, and it's not a personal relationship and you're up against an institution of some sort, how does it apply then where if you ebb for the moment, nobody cares. Like the change that you're trying to bring forward would just, to play that thought out would just die. So how do you speak to what you're discussing when, let's say, you're up against, a government or an institution of some kind, or the police or a school district, or, a bully or something where somebody doesn't have a personal investment in the conversation at all?
That's another beautiful way of expanding this question, because now you're going to use the law of correspondence, as above, so below, because you went with the individual and now you're going with the whole. So the same concept applies. What happens is there are people who think just like you. Okay. So if you're going up, I guess you could say government or school district, there are people who are like you, like-minded. You will come into contact with each other. The more of you there are, the better. Now you proceed not just as one, you proceed as many, because it's not an individual relationship now, it's a government to people. So you need the people to do something. So when you come into contact with people who are like-minded, now you have a conversation and you say, okay, look, we disagree with this thing. What's the outcome we're looking for here? What do we want? How do we proceed? And that group of people they should have a unified intent. They should have a unified intention. That's what's important. A unified intention. And to get that unity, like-mindedness. And this is why it is also important to stop people from communicating once amongst the other. Because if you don't communicate with me and I don't communicate with you, how do I know if we're like-minded or not? This is why separation, the polarity, is a very worthy tool, right? So you come together with like-minded people with one intention, and you move as a unit, as one. Because it's the government. To go up against the government as a lone person, well, it's not fair. So you get the numbers of like-minded people. That's how you bring about the intended change as a community. Does that make more sense? How you do it from singular to plural?
Yes, very much so.
Okay. All right. Hey, Ty. Cyber says it's unnatural. The whole universe is order, but society is chaos. I don't fully understand the point of the game being played here. Now, chaos seeks to be ordered, by the way. Nothing can escape order, even though it might try, right? It always follows order. The purpose of the game is to make you think there is no purpose. It's to make you think there's just things happening haphazardly or randomly, right? I'll come to you in a minute there, fan base. Just hold tight. that's the projection. The projection is, these are all just random things. When in actuality, they appear to be random, but there is no randomness. It is rhythm every single time. It's just a small piece of the puzzle, right? It's just a small piece of the puzzle. And when you see that small piece, you get a picture of the whole, right? Be sure there is a purpose. But because the purpose has been, how do I want to say that part? The purpose has been fractured. Because think about it. Let's go back to governments. If your government showed you what the agenda actually was, would you do it? You wouldn't. You wouldn't do it because you'd be like, no, I disagree. So how they have to come at you, remember, polarity will tell you how to treat the person. So they come at you with little pieces. So it may appear to be chaotic, but make no mistake, it is fully ordered. And the way to see the order, it may look like one thing is happening in Canada, one thing is happening in France, one thing is happening in the United States. Put them all together and you'll see that it is happening worldwide. They are not separate. They are ordered because everything must follow order. Mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, causation, and gender. There's no way around that. Right? The better man, Miss M. I see you all. Hey, Pushpinder, my Melanin, John D, Coach, Kara, Oracle, Treehouse, and Yolanda, you're here. It's good to see you. But does that make sense to you today? But I do want to get more into how to counter. You use the higher against the lower when you're talking about laws. Remember, the highest, because truly the only one there is mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is a mental creation. And then it tells you how. Because as above, so below, as within, so without. It moves. And it moves between two things that are the same in their nature, which forms a rhythm. And that rhythm brings about a cause, thereby bringing about an effect. Why? Because it was masculine. It was projected outward into the feminine and given back by way of an experience. So to counter, if you see the law that is being used, if the law of rhythm is being used against you, it means someone is watching your habits and your patterns. They're watching your habits and your patterns. So then in order to counter them, you have to change your pattern. You have to change your pattern. So you change your polarity. That's what you do. Rhythm, you counter it by polarity. And so now if you say, well, what if they're using polarity? They're trying to divide you? Vibration. Where have you moved? Because everything moves. Change your vibration, you will alter polarity. So you see, we're always going right back to what is in the mind. The all is mind. The universe is a mental creation. So the key here is to observe. Observe what is happening. What does it want you to do? How does it want you to behave? That's what you're looking at. You're not engaging with it. You're observing with it. And you observe so you can make a decision based upon what you're looking at. So if they're trying to polarize you to do madness, where do you want to polarize yourself then? You move away from madness towards peace. Because then the madness cannot affect you, because as within, so without. Correspondence. Questions?
I guess I'm curious. Sorry, go ahead, Orca.
No, go ahead.
I'm new to your work and very intrigued. So I guess I have two questions. I don't know which one you want to go with, but I'm curious about one, the definition or a more expanded understanding of what the law of rhythm is to you, because it's very intriguing and you refer to it, but I'm not sure I fully understand exactly what you mean by it. And second, I haven't been in a room with you when one of these hecklers comes in who are just bent on disruption. And I'm curious if it's your room and it's not a place where you're just going to observe, where you're in a position of moderator, how do you handle that?
Great questions. The law of rhythm is everywhere around us. All of the seasons, winter, spring, summer, fall. We have the new moon, we have the high tide, we have low tide. We sleep, we wake, that cycle, the circadian rhythm. Those are examples of the law of rhythm. So when you look at them, winter, spring, summer, and fall come the same time every year. It's predictable. That's what rhythm is. It shows you when something starts and ends and starts again. It is time from to. Yeah, that's that part. For hecklers, I can't say I've never had them. I have, but if it is my space that I'm using, like right now, the prime example is what happened last week. The other moderators in the room did not know that I had an experience with that person, so they invited them up to the stage. Me, I put them back into the audience. They were brought up again, and so that's when I said, I simply want this person to stay in the audience for now. That is if I am running the space. Me. That's how I do it. Because I try, and I shouldn't say try, but I teach. So that as a teacher of the law, I have to allow someone else to share what they want to say. But I always look at it through the lens of the law. If it is a personal attack, that's not about me. They are telling me, as within, so without. They're telling me who they are. And so once I've seen who they are, that's how I behave accordingly now, based upon who are they and do I want to interact with this situation? Is there something I can say to teach or change the outcome? Because you'll know who is teachable and who is not. And that's how I deal with any kind of unsavory behavior in a space that I am running. If I visit a space and I'm not a moderator and I'm just there watching, if it is too much for me, I leave. Because just sometimes you're like, oh, it's a little overwhelming. I always say, for my delicate sensibilities. So I just leave the space. Because I try to not allow myself to be polarized. So if there's a chat involved, I will make comments in the chat and always bring it to law. That's how I do it. That's how I do it. By way of law. Does that answer your question, Kara? And then we'll go to Oracle.
Yes, thank you.
I have a question as well.
Yes, Pushpinder, give Oracle one moment and we'll come to you. Hold your question.
I was just gonna say, I love the way you're explaining this. It's making me think of energy, frequency, and vibration. It's how it moves. Also, too, I was thinking about I guess you could call it energy transference. You know how, like, if you get a cold and you're around other people and other people get a cold, or if you're in a space and you're feeling happy and other people are feeling down, and then when you leave, you feel down. That's polarization, right?
Indeed.
Okay.
Yes, it does. It does. Because if you think about it, you allow yourself to be drawn into what they are feeling. You've been polarized to them. Right?
Gotcha. Okay.
Pushpinder, darling, go ahead.
Yeah, positivity for doing something. My question over here is, what does the term feminism mean over here? What is it indicating towards the context which is added in the topic, right? So does it indicate towards today's modern day concept of feminism, or does it indicate towards something else?
I am using it in terms of where we are now, where, because it has become, uh, I would say, in my observation, it has become very polarizing in society at the moment. And that's why I wanted to use it, because it is one of those things where then you get into a space with people who are for feminism or against, people butt heads. But for me, when I look at feminism, I'm looking at the bigger picture of feminism. It is a polarizing tool. That's what it is. Because at the end of the day, as a woman, as I mentioned earlier before you got here, Pushpinder, as a woman, nobody can come along and say to me, well, you don't have anything to contribute to society. Sure, they can say it if they want to. Sure, you can build policy around it if you want to. But at the end of the day, I must remain true to my own conviction as to who and what I say I am. I am just in the body of a woman. I'm not limited as a woman, right? And so that's why I wanted to use the modern day topic of feminism and how divisive or polarizing it has become. Because if you look past it, you will see that each human, male and female, we have desires. We have things we enjoy doing. The way of creation is to grow, to expand, to learn, to become more than you are. So that can't be stopped. So whether women can vote is irrelevant, really, because she still will develop her own inner self, because that is the way that it happens. We all have to develop our inner selves. It is law. So whether I can vote or not, does it mean I'm somehow diminished? Because now you have to look at the big picture. I'm not going to digress too much, but I will drop this here. We think...
Oh, no, you're not digressing at all.
We think in today's society that voting matters. Let me explain why. You are given choices to choose from. You did not choose the choices that are before you. So what are you choosing? Why? I'm going to say it again. You are being given choices. You did not make the choice to put them there so you could choose from them. They were provided and say, here, choose from this. But what if I don't like any of them? And then you hear this popular phrase, choose the lesser of two evils. Wait, what? So you want me to choose evil? Sorry, I choose not to participate. So you see, it's not that I'm looking at whether women can vote and if we should have the right to vote. I'm looking at, I did not make the choice to give my vote. It wasn't me who did that. I'm only being given the opportunity to choose from what has been provided. So what am I fighting for? But that's what I say. I won't digress. I'll leave that there. Somebody wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just clapping because I tell people that all the time. You have the autonomy to participate or not participate. Mm-hmm. And if you don't participate, then the blood is not on your hands. But for the ones that do participate, just know what's on your hands. So, yeah, I'm with it. I like what you said.
And you know, this is and that's why I say to people, look at what is being presented to you in the current event. If you see what is being presented, every cause has its effects and every effect its cause. So when you're looking at the thing that is being projected, how do you want to behave when you see it? How do you want to behave? Because when you answer that question, how you want to behave, now you can see where you've been polarized. Did you allow yourself to be coerced by way of fear? These are questions. Instead of fully engaging with the current event, observe the current event to get a better sense of what is actually being done. That's why I say memorize the law: mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, causation, and gender. When you memorize them, you begin to recognize them. You can see them clearly as you go about your day, and then you begin to utilize them for your benefit to either shield or move about the world. Go ahead.
No, I'm like Coach. I was just stopping that. That totally makes sense. I feel like a lot of people today don't realize that not choosing is a choice. They feel like they have to choose. They've missed that one thing that technically they don't have to choose.
You know, I'm going to elaborate on that for you, Oracle Treehouse, because you are correct. But you see, when you don't choose, right, there's already an intention. You set an intention. Okay? You have. Your intention was, no, I refuse. Now you've neutralized the law of rhythm. You can't break the law, but you neutralized it by making sure you were polarized in the desired space that you wanted to be in, so that you did not allow yourself to move in the direction that the herd was being drawn to. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That is the way of law, day in and day out. Day in and day out. And then I tell you that the law is absolutely amazing, beautiful, spectacular. They're just words, but to know it is different, right? And so if you want to bring your community together, then you get people who are of like mind with the same intent. And you will find that the ideas and the seeds that come out of that group begin to foster the collective and bringing it together. That's what we do. No, the law doesn't force you to fight or fret or do anything. It just says, what is it that you want to bring about? And once you get clear on what it is you want to bring about, then we then we conserve our own energy, frequency, vibration. I know that Lord had mentioned recently how, people like to say things like frequency and vibration and blah, blah, blah. And he used the physical terms, like the bass, the bass moves. And if you hear a lion, when he moans, it travels so far because it is a very low rate of vibration in tone. And that's why when the lion goes, it travels so far because it is a very low vibration. The width, right, in the frequency is long, so it travels faster for sound. But now when you're talking about vibration for your mood, it's the same thing. If that mood is long and it's slow moving, that means you've been in that mood for a long time. You've been going in that frequency for a long time, in that low, slow mood. Yes? But in order to change it, that's why if that low mood has you, it can take a little bit of mental effort to get it to shorten, to change it, to go from that low, dark place to a high light place. That's why you don't move from low to high in that increment. You move by way of polarity. You get a little bit better. You get a little bit better of a mood, and you get a little bit better of a mood, a little bit better, and you move incrementally. Because remember, that is how you set the rhythm in the first place, by incrementally doing it repetitively. So the same way you made it is the same way you have to remake a new one to get out from where you are. That's why they say Rome wasn't built in a day. To generate that kind of frequency, you need to sustain it. And so the longer you've been sustaining your low mood, the longer it feels like it's going to take for you to get out. So you have to move yourself incrementally, in small spurts, because that's where the victory is. Why? Because when you see that you've moved from a small space and you get a little bit better, you do what? You are encouraged to continue. But if you say, I'm going to jump right up to the treetops, and you hit the bottom by the roots, what happens? You are discouraged, and thus you stay in the low mood. So remember that vibration tells us we are always moving from where we are to where we want to be. You take your time because you're always going to do it because you're always moving. And so, again, if you pay attention to what is happening around you, observe it. You're not paying attention so you can judge it or allow yourself to be polarized. You're paying attention so you can see what the desired effect is that they want to bring about. That is why you observe. And when you observe, now you can counter by using the other law above it to protect yourself, to shield yourself. No need to dance naked in the moonlight. Use the law. It's much more effective. Because the moon, you see, as they tell us, we just had a super new moon, was it? I think it was. I don't know. It was something they say in astrology. There was a super moon, and so they tell you it amplifies, right? But think about it. In order for you to use that new moon, you have to set an intention. It is the intention that drives. Because the moon could be full and the tide will be affected because that's the tide. But because we have the ability to reason and to think, we can rise above and not just, we can maximize the use of it by setting a clear intention of what you want to do. Go ahead. Somebody was going to speak here in fan base, and then I'll read your question, Ty. Go ahead. Nobody was going to say something on fan base?
No, I guess it was nobody. Yeah, I wanted.
Okay, Pushpinder, go ahead.
No, I actually wanted to say something some time ago, but for the timing right now, I'm in listening mode. I wanted to ask one or two questions, but maybe later on, because those are personal questions. Maybe later on.
Okay, we'll come back, Pushpinder. We'll come back. Coach, go ahead.
You know, what I get from it and the way I look at vibrations and intervals and intention, the way I look at it is, am I going to add something or am I going to subtract something? When I say that, I mean like to someone's life. Am I going to add to this person, or am I going to subtract from them? If I feel like I'm going to subtract from them, then I have no business, or even I don't even want to go that direction with them. The only way I want to go in that direction with a person if I know that I can add to that. I just try to keep things simple. People just keep life simple. Like, are you going to add or are you going to subtract? It's basic math to me.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's what I really get from it. Your intent. What is your intent?
Yes.
Do you plan on uplifting or do you plan on tearing down?
Well said, Coach. Well said. And you see, we make those intentions in an instant, you know. They happen so quickly, we don't even know that we've made an intention. Yeah. That's how it is. It's so quick, we don't even see it.
Right? That lets me know, like, people don't really, like, take the time to sit back and think. It's like the microwave mindset is really in top control right now. That's what's governing the mindsets of people, is the microwave mindset, instead of going back to, you know, planning, making a process and following that and trusting that process.
Yes.
It's like everyone wants to get rich quick or something, what they call a hack. Life is not about hacks. It's about you learning your landscape, learning what do you have that's in front of you and conquering it. That's what it's about, not, you know, trying to find a cheat code.
Yes.
All you're doing is cheating yourself with the cheat code.
Yes. Oh, well said, Coach, because it is true. But that's the thing. That is also intentional, isn't it? Think about it. How many of us, do we even sit? Listen, the longest time people sit is when you have to sit on the toilet. I'm serious. But do we?
I'm playing video games.
Oh, yes, I hear you, smart man. But, or if you're playing a video game, right? That's when we sit still. But how many of us intentionally do so? And the reason why that is so important to see is if you realize what's being done. What's being done is, coach, you said it, get rich quick, hack this, shortcut. So you're always, there's something being projected that says, hurry, hurry, do this, get this, do that. But in actuality, you achieve everything by sitting in that stillness, because then you get the idea, you get the guidance, and you do it, and then the next thing you know is, oh snap, that was easy. Right? But because we are programmed to chase, that's why we don't stop and sit still. Let me read Ty's question.
Culture.
Yes. You see, look at all these fancy names we have for it. Hustle culture. Every day I'm hustling. Right? This is what it is.
You know what's so sad about that? I look at it like, this is how I look at it. If people really knew the ingredients and secrets about budgeting, they would actually follow that process and not try to do the cheat code. Now, what I mean by the cheat code is, I don't care who you get to sit in front of you and do a budget plan. If you don't have that number one ingredient, which is time, sitting down for the next 3 months at least, and not spending, but actually making your money. The only money you spend is on your bills, and then the extra money you get in that you need, you saving that for at least 3 months. You'll never conquer that budget that you made. So I'm hoping that people understand, like, the number one ingredients in budgeting is time. It takes at least 3 months, at least. So I'm hoping that, you know, that secret right there that a lot of people wasn't, you know, privy to or didn't follow, they will follow that and give it a try and see how much their life will change in the next 3 months.
Yes. You see, funny you should say that, coach. I saw this, I don't even remember his name, but he said, the wealthy buy time. And so when you said time, the Merovingian also said, how do we make time if we never take time? Why do you have to buy time? Why do you have to buy time when time is there? Rhythm happens. The time is already yours. But we've been deceived into thinking that we have to buy time.
Instead of manage time. Like you're supposed to.
But say it again, coach. Say it again.
Like you're supposed to manage it. That's what everything's about, management. Get used to being tedious. That's what life is about. The more tedious you are, the better. I'm telling you, you stand so many levels ahead of people when you're extra tedious.
Coach, that is so right on the money. Listen, that is so right on the money, because that's what the law of rhythm is. It may appear to be tedious that winter, spring, summer, fall happen the same time all the time, but that's the beauty of it. It may seem tedious. Nah, it is predictable. Not only is it predictable, it is consistent. And it is the consistency that brings about the success. That's why the law is always successful, because it is consistent. So listen to what I'm going to tell you. The reason why society is in the predicament that it is in is because our natural rhythm has been disrupted. The natural rhythm has been disrupted. I'm just going to say.
That is true. That is true.
Right? You got people working the night shift. On the night shift. Right? Working. Their circadian rhythm has been usurped. Now they work at night. So you see, all of the natural rhythms by way of law, when you listen to your body and you say, I'm so tired, and you put your head down and you rest, But what disrupts your rest? Bills, bills, bills. Can you pay my bills? That's what disrupts your rest. You're thinking about how you're going to make it. That is by design. So,
well, how about
go
we figure out what the rhythm, or let's go even deeper, what the algorithm is. The real algorithm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is when you have that family unit.
Mm-hmm.
That's your real algorithm right there. Because you're reproducing yourself, number one, through that family.
Always.
Number two, you're building a business where that family itself is a business. For the folks that don't know what a family really is, it's business. It's big business. It's the biggest business out there.
Yeah.
And the more you treat it that way, the better off you'll be.
Yes.
But yeah, it's exactly what that is.
You're so right. Oh, Coach, thank you. Let's see what Ty has to say. Ty says, according to the law, are we supposed to consistently live daily in our imaginative worlds and expect bridges of incidents to unfold, yielding our desired outcome? According to law, mentalism, what is it that you want to create? You name it, you have the image of it, as long as it is projected, meaning you've had it for a while, and you've not been contradicting it. You know? So are you living from a place of, oh, I planted that, I'm going about my day. It's growing. And you follow all of the intuitive things, the bridge of incidents that happens, so that you capitalize on the opportunities that are presented before you that bring about the unfolding of your desire. That's how you live your life. Right? Or do we live in the end with no expectation because the seed has already been planted? I think I just answered that part. Because the law of mentalism, right, is asking you what? Always the end. You have to, the picture in your mind is the end result that you desire to create. You have to have the end in order to create. The seed is the end. Well, how so? Is the seed not the beginning? The seed is the beginning and the end. It's not the beginning, or it is the beginning and. Because in order to know the harvest, you must have the corresponding seed. So you are living in the end. It's like what? Go ahead, Coach.
I am. Simply, I am.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
I am.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you? I am.
Yes.
That's all you need. I am.
See? This is... the law is simple. It is simple. It is simple. So practice, because Coach also said, we're always recreating ourselves. If you use the law of correspondence, you'll know exactly what it means. As above, we create ourselves mentally. So below, we procreate ourselves physically. But it is always a recreation of the self, because there is none but the self. There's only the self. Whether you're you, whether you're me, you're the self. That's the beauty of the law. So when I used feminism today to say to you, this is the world we're living in, it has been strategized now to polarize men and women. And then, depending on what that person is on the inside, that is how they begin to behave on the outside. So if they're angry on the inside and, oh, women, blah, 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 my house, my whatever, right? If that's what they are on the inside, that's how they have to behave on the outside. So anytime you see the polarity happening, the polarity will tell you who you are. It'll tell you, oh, an orange, I squeeze it, orange juice comes out. The polarity will always show you yourself, day in and day out. So get used to seeing yourself. Get used to seeing yourself and figuring out, do I like it or not? So how do you counter again before we close? We counter by observing what has been projected. How does that make you feel? When you decide how that makes you feel, now you can see where you are being polarized. Do you want to be polarized? That's the question. No, well then you decide where you want to be. You be master and polarize yourself as opposed to being polarized by someone else. Because if you allow yourself to be polarized by someone else, you don't know their effect. You don't know the outcome, not the full outcome. But if you polarize yourself, you know the cause and you know the effect because it was you who set it in motion. That is what I will say to you today. So, Ties Tidbits, Ms. M, the Better Man, Cyber, thank you all for being here on YouTube. And Coach and Oracle Treehouse, Yolanda, Comrade, hey, John, thank you all for being here. Life first, welcome to the space. Thank you for being here because this is the launch. So if you have a current event that you want to discuss by way of law next Monday, send it to me before then so we can talk about it on Monday at noon again, because that's when we'll be doing this room with current events, the law, and you. Are there any questions? Thanks, Oracle.
Yeah, I like this. This was good. I like this one. Yes.
Thank you very much. And so I didn't want to keep people long, so I just, Comrade, hey, John D. Yeah.
Excellent. I love it. Thank you so much.
Hey, no worries. And Yolanda, thank you for pinning the link above. Yolanda, does that link expire?
Well, it does, because I had to create a whole new one from the one that we had previously.
Okay. Yeah, but thank you for pinning the link because, well, you know how it is. Technology and me, I like Butterfingers, and I'm learning. I'm learning.
No problem.
Thank you. So you guys have been awesome. So again, you can slide into my DMs if you have questions, and keep your eye open for the current events and how you respond. And have you been polarized? Do you want to be polarized? Keep that in mind and slide into my DMs and let me know, and we'll get the next Monday. Okay? I will see you soon. Much love to you all. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 love. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I love you.
Yes, I love you all. So YouTube, now I can, I've closed fan base. But yes, yeah. See, and this is why I didn't want to name the title something salacious, because like I'm looking through the titles on Fanbase right now. When misogynists have daughters, and there was another one that says women hate men. It's critical mistakes women make. So I just wanted a topic that we could all grow from, learn from by way of law. And I don't know, it was just something. Oh, double A. You didn't miss me, honey, because we talking now. Right? But anyhow, if there's a topic, as I said before, that you would like to discuss a current event by way of law, let me know. My link tree is in the description. Click on it, and there's a myriad of platforms that I'm on. Telegram, Instagram, Facebook, all of them. You can email me. Yeah? So let me know your thoughts, and we will communicate again. Ooh, what's on Wednesday? Well, tomorrow night, 9:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to hit the bull. Remember that. And we'll do a live guided meditation at the end. Wednesday, we'll do the universal laws from the Bible. Oh, yes, we shall. So I look forward to seeing you then, my beautiful friends. I sure do. Yes, Cyber, we hit the bowl on Tuesday. I will see you again soon. Mwah! Much love to you all.